Am I the a-hole the way I acted when refusing my Mill's idea for my breached baby? Last month while pregnant, I went to my 39-week checkup. The doctor had been concerned because the baby was not in the right position for birth. So I was told that they were going to do an external cephalic version, ECV, which is when the doctor uses her hands on the belly to cause pressure for the baby to move into the right position. While doing this, I was being monitored by their computer, and the baby's heart was also being monitored. It was very uncomfortable, but I know the doctor was being safe. Ultimately, it did not work, so they scheduled a C-section for the following week, but told me that if the baby had moved to the right position by then, they would induce me for a vaginal birth. The day of the ECV, I told my extended family including my Mill. She is from Mexico and likes to do traditional home remedies and treatments for her ailments. One of the traditions she has is visiting a sobadora, which is like a masseuse that claims to fix many problems using their herbal oils and chiropractic techniques. Well, she suggested that I go to this woman to turn the baby, and that way I could avoid the C-section. I told her many times that day that I wouldn't trust someone to work on my belly without monitoring my baby's heart. I thought she understood that I was against this idea, but the following morning she knocked at my door and she had the sobadora lady with her. I tried to be nice to them and tried to explain how I wasn't comfortable letting her touch me, but they kept insisting. It got to the point that I was so angry that I yelled at both of them to leave because the sobadora was not a doctor and she is not qualified to do any treatment on me. They left, but my Mill called me an ungrateful snob. The following week my baby had still not moved, so I did end up getting a C-section. But my baby is healthy and I am grateful to the doctors who helped deliver her to me safely. But now it's been a couple weeks since my argument with my Mill, and even though she loves on the baby, she is very short with me and she told me I should apologize for how rude I was to her. I don't want to apologize because I feel she was the one who was out of line. My husband was always supportive of my decision and was backing me up, but somehow, my Mill still doesn't get that she was inappropriate in what she was asking me to do. My sister-in-laws both said that I should have given it a chance since it could have helped me avoid the C-section, and that I acted like a-hole to the sobadora by saying she wasn't a doctor. Am I the a-hole for going through with a women-only Thanksgiving? This has to do with my whole family. Last Easter all the women in the family got really pissed off that all of the guys beside one, Tim, sat on their ass. It was like pulling teeth to get them to help out. So for the 4th of July we had them plan everything. It didn't go well and they just grilled. No sides, no drinks, nothing. I brought up the idea if they won't help for Thanksgiving this year, we should just kick them out and have a women's-only Thanksgiving. I informed my husband and I was serious about it. The rest of the women did besides my Mill since she is a widow. The day came and I told them they need to help or we will kick them out. They sat and watched the game, couldn't even bother to set the table. They did nothing so we kicked them out. This was Mill Place. They were pissed and it came out it was my idea. I am getting so much shit for it from the guy's side that I am now questioning if we went too far on this. Also I know this will be asked, 2 kids, girls, and they are teenagers who did help without asking. They actually thought it was funny. Am I the a-hole for asking my son to bring my 6-week-old granddaughter to visit me, without his fiancée? I'm 51F, my son is 29 and he and his fiancée Jen have a 6-week-old daughter Lily. She also has a 7-year-old son that is not MG son's child but I still consider him my grandbaby. I used to get along really well with Jen and told everyone she was like a daughter to me. But when she got pregnant, she started acting weird toward me. Like I asked to be in the room for delivery and she said a clip no, despite letting her 7-year-old son's dad's mom in the room for his delivery. No big deal, it's her choice. But when I went to visit in the hospital afterwards she acted really put off that I was there. I figured she was just tired and left after 20 minutes to give her space. But then it continued. I have stopped in to see everyone about 5 times since she had the baby and every single time that I walk in, she gets really quiet. Whenever I'm holding the baby she is hovering. She keeps snapping at me over small things. Like how I'm holding the baby, had her on her belly on my arm or sideways across my knees on her belly, because she's crying. Obviously she doesn't like that so stop. Or snapping at me for things I say to the baby, like when she starts fussing. I said you won't get your own way with me, you can't play me like that in a baby voice, trying to calm her, and she goes she's 4 weeks old, how exactly is she playing you? Then she got livid and actually kicked me out of the house one time because she picked up the baby for making the smallest of noises and I told her the baby was going to get used to being held all the time if she kept doing that and she said well it's a good thing she's my child and I don't have to listen to your crying it out bullshit. Well, I went there on Thanksgiving and apparently it was her mother's first time meeting the baby and of course the baby was all smiles and loved her grandma. But when I got the chance to hold the baby, she immediately started screaming and was promptly taken from me. I feel very slighted. I asked my son if he would bring the baby to visit me without his fiancée because I feel like his fiancée's attitude toward me is the reason why the baby screams every time I hold her. I definitely think she's picking up on the hostility. I don't know why she even dislikes me now but asking her currently would be pointless. He told me he absolutely would not bring his daughter to my place without her mother because he wouldn't do that to his fiancée, who has never been away from the baby thus far. I told him they were purposely ruining my chance at a relationship with my granddaughter, and he said that wasn't true and that I need to stop pushing my old-fashioned beliefs, which is the first time I've heard of this. Am I the a-hole for telling my BM that I'll die before our kid graduates high school? Me, 23M, and Kate, 22F, are parents of Mark, 4M. We split up before he was born, and to be honest I'm not very involved with the parenting besides being generous with child support and occasionally having Mark over. I have a chronic and terminal condition that recently landed me in hospital. I had a really horrible flare-up and had to be admitted to ICU. To make it worse, it happened during the time I was supposed to have Mark over. I was unconscious and on life support, and so I couldn't answer Kate's calls. When I woke up, I checked my phone and saw all the missed calls and messages. Kate was very upset as I basically ghosted her, and she sent a lot of rude and judgmental messages. So I snapped a pic of me in the hospital bed with all the tubes attached and sent it to her with the caption, "Sorry, was busy trying not to die." Kate obviously freaked out and apologized, and I, being high on meds, told her that it's okay, just a normal day having X. Turns out Kate didn't know about my condition. We didn't really have a relationship, she was just a girl from my school whom I hooked up with and it didn't end very well. And we don't have much contact aside from Mark-related stuff. I don't know why I didn't tell her, probably forgot or something. Obviously it made her freak out even more. Kate called me and started crying and yelling at the same time, basically having a breakdown over the phone. She said I should have been upfront with her about it back then, that it's my fault if Mark ever gets sick. It's not a genetic neither a transmittable condition, so he's okay BTW. She also said it's unfair that we made a baby who will lose his dad at a young age, and this is where I might have been TA. I said, you know what would be more unfair? Dying before my only son graduates high school. It upset her even more and she said that I'm the asshole for making her and Mark go through this. I said it's not my fault. She said it is because if I was upfront with her, she wouldn't have hooked up with me. I told her it's too late and she called me in a hole, hung up and told everyone I was an a-hole to her. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make lasagna for Christmas after what my Mill did last year? I, 30F, have been together with my husband Michael, 31M, for 7 years. Married for 3 and dating for 4. My Mill, 58F, has always hosted Christmas ever since I've known him. I've always made lasagna for Christmas and other special occasions. I'm essentially the family lasagna maker, and I honestly don't really mind since I love to cook and bake. However, last year my Mill decided to make lasagna based off what she saw me doing when she was at my house and a recipe she got off the internet. I was surprised that she prepared a pan of her own, but didn't say anything and even got a small piece. It did not taste good, and it was barely touched whilst mine had almost half gone near the end of the dinner. That infuriated my Mill, and she wound up doing a rant about how everyone loves me more than her and tried to throw my lasagna in the trash. I say tried because it mainly ended up on the floor. Michael and I quickly left after that, and my Mill has not apologized for it since. Yesterday she called me to confirm what I was making for Christmas this year, and on her list of things I should make was lasagna. I politely said I wasn't going to make lasagna due to last year's incident and I'd be happy to make anything else. My Mill wasn't as polite and called me vindictive for refusing to make the lasagna over a small mistake. I just refused again and it made my Mill angrier, so she told me that unless I show up with lasagna in hand, she wouldn't let me be at the Christmas celebration. My husband says it's easier to just make the lasagna to keep the peace, and I shouldn't hold my Mill's mistake that she made out of anger against her. Word got to my Sil and Bill from my Mill and they're saying I should also make it even if it's just half of what I would usually make.